A large part of what I do in my painting technique is utilizing a part of the Photoshop called color selection. So I'm going to show you how to select colors in Photoshop. A lot of times you just want one or two colors selected and you want to play with those colors, but you want to leave the rest of the photo alone. That's what this is about. So if we before we get started, we want to make sure we are on the layer over here in our layer palette that's called Photo. We renamed that one. So we want to make sure we've clicked on that. And then we go up to the top line where it has the wording I had shown you before. And you want to go to the one that says Select, click on it. And then you want to go to Color Range, click on that. And a window will open called Color Range. You want to have it be, there are all these options of colors to select, but I want to click on sampled colors. These don't have any localized color structures, just have that all unchecked. You want your fuzziness to be at 0. The range is not going to be showing on this one. And then you want down here, have selection clicked, not image. See, if we clicked on image, it would show the picture. Here we want selection, which turns our photo into black and white, really helps us see which colors are selected and which ones are not. The white colors are selected, the black ones are not. Selection preview, I just like to keep it at none. Okay, so here we are in our color range window. And all I do when I'm in this window is I go over here to the image on my desktop, the photograph, and click once. Now when I click once, if you notice, it shows over here in my preview window a lot of little specks. What that is they're all little squares of one color. I'm going to show you what that actually means. So if I were to go to zoom into my photograph. Many of you may know this, but for those of you who do not, a digital photo is made up of squares of color, and each square is a solid color. So they're all individual colors in the photo. So when I was up in my sky and I clicked one color popper, it happened to click on one of these squares, and those were all the ones that were selected. So I'll go back into my select color range. See how all of those little squares were just those ones of the one I selected. So I don't want just that in my sky, I want to select the whole sky. So what I will do is I will come over here to the plus button, and then it's add to sample, and then I just drag my eyedropper tool back over to the image of my photograph, and I just start clicking around. You click and drag. Click and drag. As you can see on my representation over here, my black and white, it's collecting a lot more white of the sky. Okay, so now I have my sky selected. Doesn't need to be too exact. A lot of times if you get too exact, it ends up taking more out than just your sky. It's okay if I have a few marks. So if you look over here, here is my image, and you can see the majority of my sky has been selected. The rest of the photograph is black, which means it's not selected. I'm going to press OK. And it creates, if you look up here closely, these little I call them dancing ants, all around the colors that I selected. See how it's going through there? Dancing ants, dancing ants. So it selected all of those colors, and I just want to get rid of the sky. I don't want to try to change its colors or do anything with it. I just want to get rid of it. So what I'm going to press is delete. And if you look closely, all the little squares that had color in them are empty now. I took a little bit out of my lighthouse because it had some of the sky colors in it. You notice here. So to get rid of the dancing ants, you press Command D for deselect, or you go up to the selection and you would just put deselect. Click on that. So deselect is Command D. Okay, so then what you do is, let's say I want this part of my image back in. I don't want to delete the parts of the lighthouse. I just wanted the sky deleted. In order to do that, I have to go back to the original state before I deselected these. It's called the history. If you look at over here in your history palette, remember, before I did color range, I had the whole picture in there. So I kind of want to go back to that history stage. Before color range, I'll put a dropper above color range. So it's going to go to this stage I was at before I pressed color range, and it's going to let me brush the history of that state back into the image. I go over to my history tool, and I press History Brush Tool. And then I want to make sure I go up here to the corner, and these are my brush shapes. So if you open them up, I have lots of different brush shapes. When I'm brushing history back in, a lot of the times I want a nice sharp edge on my brush. So I'm going to choose this one that says 48. I'm going to go over here and make sure the mode is normal. Opacity is 100%, and flow is 100%. So I've got that all selected, and in order to get rid of that, I can press Return, and it gets rid of that page. So now I am on the History Brush tool, and I come over here and I start brushing the history, that state that it was in before I selected those colors. It's going to just brush just the ones I want to come back. It doesn't have to be exact, actually, because I sometimes like the colors that I choose for the sky. See, they're going to come through some of that. I'm just wanting to make sure I haven't selected too much, so I'm going to bring some of this back in. Feels like it's magic. Okay, the one thing about this technique is you don't have to be overly technical. Just do some of it back then. Okay, now we're going to look at it. That looks pretty good. So now I want to get out of the History Brush tool. So I'm just going to go to my Move tool. Move tool is a nice one to click on once you've finished something, just so you don't end up using some tool that you didn't know you were on. Move tool is it can't really do much. So now I have my photo over here, this layer, and my layer here. So that's how you deselect the sky and you use the history brush to brush in parts of it.